Hi guys, and welcome to this video. Today I wanted to talk about the beauty standards here in Korea and how they might differ from those in the West. I've lived in Korea for a few years, so I have experienced the beauty standards here firsthand. Today I wanted to get a little bit personal and talk about how these beauty standards have affected me while I've been living here, as well as address some common misconceptions about the beauty standards here, and talk a little bit about the negative impact that beauty standards have generally. I think this video is going to be very therapeutic for me to talk about, and I'm hoping that it will also be therapeutic for you too. So first of all, I wanted to talk about a few of the beauty standards that I've noticed since living here. First off is of course skin tone. The ideal skin tone is a fair skin tone. I know a lot of people have been speaking about how this is changing, but it is still the case that overall in Korea a fair skin tone is preferred. And although in recent years certain makeup brands like Tear have started to make darker foundation colours for deeper complexions, it's still very much the case that a lot of other Korean brands still only have very fair foundation shades. I think this focus on achieving a very fair / white complexion feeds into the misconception that Koreans favour white people. Or I guess what I should say more accurately, that Koreans are trying to be Caucasian. This is absolutely not the case. Yes, they do like fair skin, but fair skin and being white / Caucasian do not always go hand in hand. I feel that's not something that I should really have to point out, but I have seen a lot of comments online, and I myself have received comments in real life from people who tell me that I fit the beauty standard in Korea simply because I'm white. This is definitely not the case. The beauty standard of having fair skin is just as simple as that. They just like having fair skin. They're not trying to be white or change their race with makeup. The exact same can be said for double eyelid surgery. A lot of people, I think, have the misconception that Koreans get double eyelid surgery because they're trying to somehow look more Caucasian. But this is definitely not the case. They get double eyelid surgery because double eyelids have been favoured in Korea for a very long time. They're not trying to look white. They're trying to still look Korean. They're not trying to lose their Korean identity through surgery and through makeup. Nobody really gets surgery to change their race. I mean, unless you're Ollie London, but I mean, Ollie London doesn't even look Asian after all of the surgeries that he's had done, to be honest, but I digress. White skin is the beauty standard here because it's been a beauty standard here for thousands of years. And this is because the people who were rich were always inside. Therefore, their fair skin was a sign of their wealth and of their status. Whereas the poor people had to work outside doing manual labour in the sun, and therefore their complexion would be tanned and much deeper. It has absolutely nothing to do with wanting to be white. Like I said, people here do on average wear very light foundation. I think more foundations in Korea tend to lean towards the lighter side. There are some brands like Tear who started to make foundations of deeper tones to appeal to a global market, but a lot of Korean brands, especially the brands that aren't popular globally, still only carry very fair shades. In Korea, people tend to focus on having very natural makeup. Basically, the type of makeup that is very popular or trendy in Korea is what we refer to in the West as no makeup makeup. It's the kind of makeup that is meant to look like you're not wearing makeup, but you are. Whereas I think in the West, there's a lot more variation in makeup styles. I think in the West, some people favour more bold makeup looks, and some people do favour the more natural, no makeup looks. But I would say that you definitely see more variation in makeup. Overall, in Korea, you don't really see bold makeup. You see this a lot in Korean makeup brands too. Very often, Korean makeup brands only have very natural tones, especially when it comes to eyeshadow. A lot of eyeshadow palettes in Korea are very natural. They look very natural in tone, and honestly, the pigmentation of them is very light. Especially if you compare it with Western makeup brands. Western makeup brands overall I've found have a lot more pigmentation, especially in eyeshadows. And I think that just leans into the fact that Koreans like this more natural makeup. Next thing that I wanted to talk about are facial features. In Korea, there's an emphasis on having a small face as well as having a high nose bridge and a V-shaped jawline. Like I mentioned earlier, double eyelids are also very popular here in Korea, and I believe double eyelid surgery is still the most common plastic surgery that people get here in Korea. In general, plastic surgery is very normalized here in Korea. I often see adverts for plastic surgery clinics pretty much everywhere I go, honestly. I forgot the exact statistic, but I did see in the news recently that there's especially a shortage of pediatricians here in Korea, but the number of plastic surgeons in Korea is still increasing. So on the news, it was basically saying that if things continue the way that they are, there won't be any doctors to treat children in Korea. But there will be a massive population of plastic surgeons here. Mainly because of social media, plastic surgery is becoming very normalized in the West too. Especially procedures such as lip fillers and even nose jobs are becoming very normalized. The last beauty standard that I wanted to talk about is the one that's probably had the most impact on me, I would say, and that is body standards. So in Korea, there is a high emphasis on having a slim figure, which is often influenced by celebrities and K-pop idols here. Diet culture is pretty huge here in Korea. I do think that it's not as big these days as it used to be. Even around 5 years ago when I first came to Korea, I think it is on the slow decline. But diet culture here is definitely much bigger than in the West, or at least bigger than in the UK. Here, although there has been a shift in recent years towards a more healthy appearance, there is still this focus on being slim. And I do notice when I go to the gym here in Korea that a lot of women do tend to do a lot of cardio. A whole lot of cardio. And I rarely ever see women, at least in the gym that I go to, lifting weights. And I did used to see videos back in the day, those really cursed videos of people who would try K-pop idols' diets and exercise routines for a week. And it was something crazy, like they would eat a single sweet potato for breakfast, lunch and dinner every single day. And then on top of that would do like an hour of cardio every day. And as you can probably imagine, as someone who suffered with a restrictive eating disorder in the past, when I first moved to Korea, I found this incredibly hard to deal with. And I remember around late 2018, I had a little bit of a mini relapse where I started to diet a little bit and I lost quite a lot of weight quite quickly. And when I went back to my school, my Korean co-teacher, who had seen the weight loss, actually complimented me on my weight loss and told me that I looked prettier because I had lost so much weight. So yeah, obviously this wasn't helpful to hear, but that just kind of emphasizes how much Korea has a focus on being skinny and almost equating being skinny to being pretty or being more attractive. Whereas in the West, of course, there's much more of a focus on everybody having different body types. There was even, of course, the infamous rise of the body positivity movement in the West, which I won't get into in this video because it would be way too long, but I'm not entirely a fan of some of the things that that movement promoted, but I do think that trying to promote the idea that everybody has different body types and you know, not everybody is made to be really skinny mini, is an overall positive thing to promote. But on a positive note, I think that this is starting to bleed into Korea a little bit too. These days, like I said, even compared to 5 years ago when I first moved here, there are more body types that I see more often in Korea now. Back in 2018, I rarely saw any other body type other than very, very skinny. I definitely think these days Korea is trying to push back against the beauty standards a little bit, especially the standard of being really skinny. But as I mentioned at the start of this video, I just wanted to chat with you a little bit about this today because I thought it would be very therapeutic for me, and I'm hoping that I at least help one person who watches this video, because of course beauty standards have a very negative impact a lot of the time on mental health as well as physical health. In Korea, trends tend to come and go much more often, especially compared to the West. More people in Korea tend to follow and keep up with trends than people in the West do. And because of that, I think people have more pressure to fit in and look a certain way. I've noticed that Korean people are also way more honest with you about your appearance. If you lose a lot of weight, or likewise if you gain a lot of weight, in my experience, Koreans are much more likely to point that out to your face. And obviously, if you already suffer with low self-esteem, then this can be quite the challenge to get used to. And over time, this obviously has a negative impact on your mental health. It definitely did on my mental health. And eventually it did impact my physical health too, as I began restrictive dieting very heavily again. Obviously, the West is not immune from this either. I definitely felt the pressure to fit in with beauty standards in the UK too. For me, that mainly came in the form of wanting to get various plastic surgery procedures done. Nose jobs in particular are being very, very normalised in the West these days on social media platforms. After consuming so much of this content, I did start to feel like there was something wrong with my nose and that I needed to change it to fit this very straight, small nose that is very trending, I would say, in the UK right now, and very trending in the West in general. Another surgery procedure that is of course very common in the West is a very obvious one that is also everywhere on social media, which is of course lip fillers. This one I did cave into, and I did get lip fillers done while I was here in Korea. As lip fillers were really taking off in the West, I was here in South Korea at that time, and I decided to go and get lip fillers done. And honestly, these days I kind of regret doing that. I actually was debating the idea of having them dissolved for quite a while, but upon researching it, I found that sometimes if you dissolve the hyaluronic acid, it can also dissolve your existing hyaluronic acid. So the hyaluronic acid that already existed in your lips before you had extra put in. And obviously I don't want to deal with that, so I sort of feel like I'm stuck with the consequences of my actions now. I feel like I can't dissolve my lips anymore. And yes, I know everyone thinks that lip fillers dissolve over time. However, there has been evidence lately that suggests that they do not, and I would say I'm living proof of that. But with all that being said, I do think that here in Korea as well as in the West, these days there is a push for more authenticity and less of everybody trying to fit themselves into one ideal beauty standard. And look, I would be lying to you if I said that I was 100% comfortable in my own skin, in my own body right now. But I think over the past few years, I've truly come to accept myself the way that I am. I truly believe that this comes with age. I think the older I've gotten, the more I've just come to accept myself the way that I was born. Because of unrealistic beauty standards, there are still days when I feel like the ugliest person in the world. I still have days where I absolutely hate my nose, but I believe I've truly just come to accept that although I don't love my nose, it's my nose. It's my mother's nose, in fact. I have my mom to thank for my nose. And, you know, my mom is the most beautiful person in the world to me. So I think it would be a true discredit to her for me to go and change it. I think as I've gotten older, I've realised that I could change my appearance and I could be more conventionally attractive. I could fit myself into the ideal beauty standard, but I wouldn't look like me anymore. I know it sounds really cheesy, but please don't think that you're not beautiful just because you don't fit into the ideal beauty standard for whatever country you're from or whatever country you might be living in. Please share your thoughts concerning beauty standards in the comments below, and please subscribe to my channel to see more content from me and more content on my life here in Korea. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you again soon. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye!